would like to do a hip focus today. And I think I'm going to call it hip range of motion training or deep hip range of motion training, because I feel like we all need more of it. And yeah, and this is, I intend this to be a quickie in a sense of maybe just half hour, 35 minutes of things you can do every day, maybe every other day. And yeah, so let's get started. I have my extra pillows here today. So because I want to show this, especially for folks who don't have flexible hips. And that's more than that do have adequate hip strength and mobility. So what I want to start out with first is just sitting on the ground. Okay, so sitting on the ground might look like this. Okay, so just finding, you can even do this sitting on a chair, right? So it's just sitting on a bolster, sitting on a couple of pillows, on a little step stool, maybe if that's available, and just starting to push. As always, we always want to orient ourselves, pushing the sits bones back. So this would be amazing. Can you see there is already a squat in there, right? If we were to squat all the way down with the feet on the ground, that's how the spine would look like. So we're just here. We're going to pull the sits bones back. You're going to push your pillows behind you and then take the diaphragm just back a little bit, just to allow for the low back to release. And here we are. We're just going to go ahead and push the feet also down into the earth and find your breath. See how much you can keep pushing the feet down and the sits bones back at the same time. Find your breath. You should feel quite some work right here in the hip joint, and you should be feeling quite some work in the buttocks and some work in the abdominals, the obliques holding you. And I don't want to even spend too much time in a single position here, because key to good hip movement, strength, flexibility is variety. So this is your start maybe. Now the next shape we're going to be sitting in is maybe something like this. So maybe one leg goes off to the side. Make sure your toes are pointed here. You're going to hug the sits bones back. Again, we're sitting upright. Push. And if this knee is tender, put something under that knee, right? You don't get a little bit off the seat, whatever. Become so aware of, this doesn't feel right. Let's change it, right? So we're going to pull the sits bones back, have something underneath. You can push that knee down into the ground, push the left foot into the ground, and just, again, feel what shows up in the hip here. Easy breath, backing up the diaphragm, softening the shoulders a little bit. And find breath here. Just easy. The moment we start to hold the breath. Now, if this gets to be too intense in here, let it go for a moment and then find the sitting bones back. Pelvis tilting forward, and you're going to push more down into the earth. Okay, and let's switch that up again. Maybe we're sitting in a mermaid seat, right? Again, this can be very high. Now, if a mermaid seat is bugging you, go in and out of the mermaid seat, right? Move your leg into it. Legs into it. You might have to use your hands here. Let's do the mermaid seat on the other side. It doesn't always have to be the same amount of time from one hip to the other, staying in a position or staying in a shape, but that we're working on getting into the shape, right? Can take one foot behind. And of course, over time, as you get stronger overall, and you will get stronger if you work it, you don't have to use your hand. But if you have to use your hand today and for the next month or two, please do it. So this is a beautiful place to work hip flexibility again. And then maybe we can stay a little bit in that mermaid seat just for a moment. So making sure we're trying not to drift off too much. If you drift off too much, maybe you need another pillow. But I think the height that I have right now, it's about 10, 12 inches, should be okay for everybody. And so we're going to start by pushing the knees down and away from each other. Find the whole leg. Now the shin pushes down, right shin, left shin pushes down, softening the kidneys again. And I'm just going to focus on how much work can I make happen going down, pushing down into the earth. And I'm breathing. And let's do the other side. So whatever it takes, however long it takes to get into the shape. And this is a little high for me now. I'm going to stay up here just to show. I want you to be okay with sitting on a pillow or 2 pillows or 3 pillows. It's really, we want, the important part is the ability of finding this little tilt in the pelvis. If the pelvis is too low and you feel like you can't even access the tilt, you need to sit higher. And again, the better shape, the better version we practice, the faster we're improving. As my teacher, Dr. Perry, says, not more is better. Better is better. If you do this once and engage the legs down and pull the sits bones back and pull the kidneys back, and you're really in it mentally and physically and emotionally, potentially, you're gonna do so much better for what we're looking for here. So again, let's change the position again. Maybe we'll go into a wider seat. I think I might mention this a lot, but maybe sitting on the floor while you're watching TV. It's awesome. It sucks also to a certain amount. So we're going to pull the sits bones back, pull the kidneys back, let the shoulders soften, pull the heels down into the floor. Work your hamstrings, right? Now let's start with a little movement here. So I brought Mr. Thrifty here. Gosh, where did I put the leg? Oh no. Oh boy. Let me see if I can find the leg. Of course I didn't. Oh boy. So sorry, Mr. Thrifty. I have to be Mr. Thrifty right now. So the hip joint, I'll show this again, is very round. So obviously he lost both of his legs here, but if you can see this, there's a very round bonal position, but very, it's beautiful. It's wow. And the thigh bone, the greater trochanter is round and it fits perfectly into this little crater, if you will, right? So this is what makes us have incredible amounts of rotation in the pelvis, from the leg into the pelvis. So let's just start here. Right leg is stationary for now, and we're going to turn from here. It's not your foot, right? Or the knee turning. It's the whole leg. turning. Now, I'm going to go really slow. Imagine you can even use your hand here slightly and resist, and then use your hand here and resist. And I'm pushing at about 30% effort from, I'm not like totally jamming my leg here. I'm just slowly resisting. You could even do this and think I'm pushing something really heavy. I'm moving my leg in setting clay. It's very, very dense, very dense. You keep dragging, you keep digging your heel down into the ground and just turn that leg from here. And this is really good practice in a sense. Can I match my foot and my knee, right? It's my foot following and pivoting with my knee, or is my foot leading, or is my foot doing something completely different than my knee? This is very, very important. And this is why our hip joint is so nicely rounded, so we can do that. Okay, so let's just even for a second come and lie on the floor and just feel the difference. And if you repeat the class eventually, you don't have to do that every time, but take a moment and just feel how your right and left leg compare. And I will bet you your left leg feels much better. Heavier, more connected in the hip joint. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So the left leg is stable, but I'm going to work it. So I'm pulling that heel down into the ground. My hamstrings are on. My knee is not fully extended. Maybe my foot is slightly flexed, just to have something to do here. There's even weight in both sits bones, and the pelvis is pulling back. And then I'm digging my right heel down. I'm piercing my rug with my heel as I'm slowly moving. And then you can add again your hand. I'm going to rotate in, or use this hand, and then I'm going to push out. I'm going to push. I'm resisting with my hand, and I'm going to push, and I'm resisting out. And then if you want, you can visualize you're pushing something really heavy. You're pushing 50 pounds with your knee, thigh bone, but the movement is happening. And you can put your hand even here. You can feel there is some muscle bulging happening once you move the leg in and out. And you can even feel your glute, right? As the leg turns in, the glute might release a little bit. And as you pull the leg out, you might find more engagement in the glute, which is the external rotators. Glutes are external rotators partially. So we're going to just feel, is that working? Are my complementary muscles around the joint, are they doing their thing? And then let's maybe do both legs. So in and out, you're still sitting on your pillows, keep pulling the sits bones back. Maybe we're doing a little windshield wiper action, a little skiing action. This is wonderful. Noticing there's a little shift in the pelvis, but I'm not rocking side to side from my rib cage. It's right in here. Okay, very good. And then walk your feet back in again. You're still sitting on your bolsters. And we're going to go ahead and put the upper arm bones, about maybe elbow on the inner thighs. And you can put your hands together here. And we're going to press the elbows into the knees and the knees into the elbows. You're going to keep sticking your butt out, take the kidneys and the diaphragm back. And again, your pressure is whatever you want it to be. 30%. The important part is now this is an isometric. There's no movement, your shoulders are sliding down the back, and you're just pressing gently. And again, this is work for your hip joint. Big external rotation. You can even go further, if that's available, but not making it happen from the toes, but making the toes and the knees are making it happen together, right? That's the bottom of a squat, right? This could be a squat. Eventually, it will be a squat. Squatting is one of the most beneficial things we can do for our body. So here we're pushing, and then we can go. I'm pushing my hands out. I'm going to feet my really close together. And then I'm pushing my legs just out into my hands into my legs, and I'm going to let it release. Here we go again. It's isometric. Hands into legs, legs into hands, and release. We'll do one more time. And release. Very good. Okay, so this is how I would start it, moving around, sitting in weird shapes, sitting in open shapes. You don't always have to sit cross-legged. Cross-legged is great, is great, but vary it. Lots of variety is really important. And especially if you spend a life in a chair, at a desk, keep doing this. So this is the first part of the series, of this little quick class. Let's go ahead and lie on your side. And we're going to work a little bit more on that internal external. So lying on the side, and we're going to lift the leg up, and we're going to straighten the leg. And here we're already turning the leg a little bit in. And then we're going to go turn the leg out, turn the leg in. Make sure your top hip stays very stable, turning the leg out, turning the leg in. And feel again, as you turn the leg out, boom, glutes are activating. As you turn the leg in, glutes are deactivating, but can you actually still keep them toned? Leg turns out, rotators do it, and then turning the leg in, and can I keep some tone? You might have to use your hand to feel, is there some engagement in the glute? Let's do this one more time. In and out. And then just again, roll onto your back and take a little moment and just feel this. I mean, I can definitely feel that my left leg is more fluid. It does feel a little bit like water, and it's just hanging out in this riverbed or is water. Yeah, it's much more released than my right leg. And it's not released because of a stretch. I always want to point that out. It's released because we're working the appropriate muscles. Let's do the other side. Bottom leg can be bent, sits bones and kidneys back. I'm going to pick up the leg. I'm going to reach it. I'm going to back up the kidneys just for good measure. Make sure your top hip is slightly forward. And then we're going to turn the leg. Imagine, again, we're moving through something very viscous. Slow movement makes you be more present. Slow movement is much, the muscles have to really have the adequate time to figure it out. Just doing it quick like this is not going to cut it. It's just not. But if you go slow and imagine the resistance, you can even think there's a rubber band tied to your leg, and you're constantly pulling against the rubber band. As I said, rubber band. I actually brought also TheraBand. If you can get a hold of this, you can buy them on Amazon. You can tie this around your legs. Make sure you make a bow at the end, not 2 knots, otherwise you'll never untangle that. You can start doing it this way. So the band will make you work harder because you keep, of course, pulling up against it. The darker the band, the heavier the band. So I would say don't start with a black band or a blue band, dark blue band. Green, red, yellow is very light, but you can play around with that. They call therabands. Just a little extra work. I'll just take this off, lie on your back one more time. Just check it out. Oh yeah. So now let's stay on the back. And we're gonna now work the hips. Since flexibility is granted by strength. So the feet are fairly close together, maybe just 2 or 3 inches apart. And you're going to pull the feet down into the ground, pull the shoulders into the ground as well. Keep the sits bones heavy. And we can do a couple of little pelvic tilts here, just kind of feeling, okay, where's my hip? Which what we did before, we moved the leg bone in the hip socket. And now we're moving the hip socket around the leg bone. Pretty cool. And we want to be able to do it all, right? We want to move the leg without moving the hip. And we want to be able to move the hip without moving the leg. Well, sits bones are heavy, kidneys are heavy. I'm going to start to pull my shoulders into the ground, pull my feet into the ground. And I'm starting to activate my hamstrings and glutes, and then find a little baby lift. Soften the diaphragm, soften the kidneys, work your shoulders, work your big toes. Check in with your big toes. Are you falling to the outside of the foot? Can you pronate your foot? Inner medial line of the foot is really, really heavy. And then lower the pelvis back down. And pulling heels and shoulders, pelvis lifts up. Sits bones, kidneys really heavy. Keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. And maybe the pelvis lifts a little higher, but I'd rather encourage you to not go very high. Maybe your pants are still touching the ground here. I can feel my pants are still on the ground. And just trying to work the shape here. The sitting bones really heavy, really, really, really heavy. And then lower down. We'll do this one more time. Heavy sits bones, heavy kidneys, pull. And then let's just go a little bit side to side. It's just swaying a little. And that little sway is I'm going to the left, let my left hip drop to the ground, my feet and my knees coming with me, pulling my left arm down. And I'm going to soften the ribs. I can see they're already popped. I'm going to go to the right, pulling my right arm down. Now, how slow can you do this? You're moving at the speed of a snail. And slow. Check it out. If your butt is not screaming at you yet, go slower. Are your shoulders working? Are your triceps part of this, right? It's all, we're pulling ourselves into the ground with this tiny little lift in the pelvis. Heavy in the sitting bones, heavy in the kidneys. And then release down in the center and straighten both legs. Take a moment, check it out. Really nice. Even feeling more fluidity, hopefully, in your hip joints. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do is just going to rock yourself up to sitting, and then we're going to come into a forward bend. Slowly come up to standing. Just going to change my screen a bit. Here we go. So feet are parallel shoulder distance apart. So if we think about the outer part of our shoulder, and then just, we're going to start with this little side to side. And if you need to hold on to something, that's very much okay. But can we push the earth to the left for me here? I'm moving to the right. And then push the earth to the right. And pelvis is moving to the left. My upper body is staying fairly stable. Find your breath. And I'm thinking Tai Chi here, right? Tai Chi, maybe see people very slow in the park, or yeah, mostly in the park probably where you can see them. Pushing. And then just stay on the right side here. Diaphragm softens back and let this show up. Your right glute, quad, hamstring, foot should be very, very active. And then we're going to push off of that right leg over to the left, making sure the knee and the toes are not changing. You got to really check in. You look down at your knee and your toes and see, all right, is my knee out here? I don't almost want to demonstrate it because that's just not good ever for the knee. Staying here, let it cook a little bit. And then push. Let it cook. Push over. And release. And then the last thing we're going to do, and you might want to get a chair for this, or table, kitchen counter. Let's see how I'm gonna face this. So obviously you can do this without a chair, but I want you to be safe and not fall over, because what we're gonna do is really weird. So we're gonna cross the midline. I'm taking my right leg here and bring it across to the left back corner of my chair, and my left foot hops back. And we're going to go ahead and plant the right foot fully down, and the back heel is lifted. Now this can be small, right? But making sure as I'm coming down, my foot is not doing this. So I'm going to hold on like so you can see this. So you're going to plant the front foot, toes and all, inner heel. The back heel is lifted. And we're going to try and take that back knee through to the right. Better even if you can is turn that front foot more in. So can you see how that whole, from here, my whole leg is turning in. You can even be here and do this, right? Great. Pulling that heel down into the floor, beautiful warm up for what we're going to do. And then we're going to turn that leg in and we're going to come down. Now you can go all the way. You could go all the way. Please don't right now. So we're going to just practice these tiny little squats, adducted squats. You should feel this in your right hip, lateral thigh. Make sure your big toe stays heavy. Turning both legs in. You can see, right? Both legs turning in a lot. Very good. Just come to standing, check it out. Whew, yeah, this is definitely working. I can feel the blood rushing there. Okay, so do the other side. We're going to take the left foot in front, right foot in the back. My left foot is turned in. So noticing here again, right? There is an option. I'm not going to be here. I want to internally rotate the leg and adduct it, bring it close to midline. So this is abduction. This is adduction. And then we're going to go even further. Okay. So we're going to bend the knees. And I'm trying, and again, please, less is more. If you do it really, really well, you don't have to go big. Go slow. Hold on to whatever you have to hold on to. Push the earth away as you come up. Keep the diaphragm back. Send the sits bone back. Turn the leg. Really watch out. Is your knee and your toe, this might be it. You might go down 2-3 inches. Is my knee following my toes? Coming back up. You could mess up your knee very quickly if you don't follow with the knee where your toes are. Maybe your toes are not going to turn that much in. Maybe your toes turn forward so your knee can turn forward. But we want to really squeeze those inner thighs together to work on opening our glutes and our hips. Let's do one more. It's definitely burning. I can feel it. Very good. Release, shake it out. Very good. So that was it. This was a quickie. I think this is all about 38 minutes long. I hope this helps. I hope you can incorporate it in your day. Maybe you can cut it in half if you don't have a lot of time. But I would say half hour should be possible. After a while, once you know a little bit more what we're doing, you might even do less repetitions and do them slower, right? So it's, again, don't speed it up. Never speed it up. Not for the first 10 years of doing Pilates. Don't speed it up. Yeah, go slow. Let me know if you like it. I'm going to be doing a little progression on this. So next month, I'm going to film a video where we're taking it to the next step. This was really more about mobility, feeling external, internal rotation, working a little bit more on lateral strength, stability, balance, and then big focus on internal rotation in the squat. All right. I hope you like it. I hope you do it. Let me know how it works. Thanks. Bye.